The sanctity of human life is under assault. Find out how and what you can do about it in this edition of Life Matters with Brian Johnston. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on life, culture, and the very real battle of ideas. And you are in this battle. You're subjected to these ideas every day. If you're not aware of it, then the odds are you've lost a lot of ground, because you have to be aware that there's a battle for your mind, and you have to be prepared to fight in that battle. As you know, I work in the Right to Life movement, and I work for the Right to Life cause. I believe that this is the single most important battle facing our culture. The right to life is a very simple statement. It's an idea, if you will, an assertion of a right, an inalienable right, that our founding fathers clearly delineated in our founding documents. But it's something that throughout history, Western civilization has intimated this and worked towards it and esteemed the fact that government exists to protect the lives of those that cannot protect themselves. That's why policemen exist. That's why they have badges and guns. If there's someone who's innocent, they must be protected from someone else who may wish them harm. Society literally exists to protect the lives of those that can't protect themselves. And that's why the right to life is so important. Regardless of any of your other concerns, society itself right now is in disarray, because the right to life was literally thrown out the window in January of 1973. And now the repercussions are coming home to roost. We want to assert the right to life. The National Right to Life Committee exists specifically for that. I'm getting ready to go to the 40th National Right to Life Convention. This year it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's different places in the nation every year. Every other year, it's back at Washington, D.C., because that's where battling of ideas takes place. Many people are uncomfortable with politics because they don't recognize what it really is. It's the battleground for ideas that are enforced. And that's why it's so important. The laws of a nation determine and proclaim its values, what it really believes in, what it's really going to do. And that's why we have to not ignore the political world and not ignore the laws. In fact, we need to be involved in asserting just laws. When I come back, I want to talk about why the right to life is an issue that you can get equipped with and prepared for in your community. It's not unlikely that the Roe versus Wade decision will be overturned in the near future. If you're not ready for that, if you don't really understand what was at stake, you're going to believe the LA Times and PBS and NBC and CBS and many other well-meaning people in our culture that haven't taken the time to examine the depth and strength of the idea of what the right to life is and the implications of what happens when it's violated. In this particular program, I'm going to talk about what happens when it's violated. You've seen many of those things. We're going to talk about things that are happening now that need to be brought to an end, that you as an individual, your family, your church needs to be prepared to address, because these are very evil things happening in our society. I'm also going to talk about things on the horizon, but really I'm going to come back to that basic premise, that foundational, self-evident truth of the right to life and why you need to understand it and stand for it and not hide away from this discussion, but be ready to give an answer as to why this must be a founding principle in any just society. So I'll be right back, and we'll talk about the challenges ahead.
You're listening to Life Matters.
The California legislature is considering a bill, SB 481, which allows nursing homes to declare a conscious patient to be incompetent and then take away their food and water. These dependent patients need protection, not dismissal. Legislators need to oppose this bill. If you don't know who your California legislators are, please call California Pro-Life at 800-924-2490. Give your name and street address. We will send a message to your state legislator on your behalf asking them to oppose SB 481. Leave your email address and we will let you know how your legislator then votes. Please speak up for the vulnerable. Call 800-924-2490 and oppose SB 481.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back to Life Matters. As I said, we're going to talk about the real battle of ideas. You know this from listening to not just this program, but if you've been paying attention to the news and to what's happening in medical ethics, that some of these insidious ideas aren't new. You know that in Germany, during the Nazis, they actually taught medical ethics. And in 1939, it was required that every medical school teach a certain type of medical ethics that really had very simple premise that is not that strange to our ears. The first premise is that not all lives are of equal value. Now, in our nation, that is an assertion that we make under the law, but is that really an assertion in medical ethics today? Well, that was taught in Germany, that not all lives are of equal value. And then a second very important premise is that individual human lives were really subject to the better good of the community at large, the state as government, but really the community was more important than the value of individual lives. That's actually antithetical to the American founding. But I have to tell you right now, that's not terribly different from what is being taught in medical ethics. As you know, in 1973, even though every state had laws against killing a child in the womb, and those laws had come to us, been handed down through English common law, and then were strengthened after the Civil War when science recognized that even before quickening, this was a unique human baby. Those laws in every state were strengthened to protect that baby because this was an individual human being. And just as after the Civil War, the 13th through 15th Amendments had restored protection for human beings that had been called slaves. No, those are human beings. A just law must protect them. So that was the case with unborn children after the Civil War. Every state adopted laws, and it was because of the activity really of a man who's known as the founder of modern gynecology, Horatio Storer, took it upon himself to ensure that the second patient in childbirth, he used to care for women in childbirth, but he realized abortion was violating the rights of his second patient. So every state had laws. In 73, all of those laws were thrown out, and the right to life was removed as a premise. That has impacted medical ethics. That has impacted our laws now. It has changed what's happening day to day in both medicine and the law. So at this point, things have gotten strained, and we want to look at what are we going to do about it, because things can get worse. I like to use analogies a lot. I think it helps us understand. I see the right to life as one of the pivotal defining lines, bright lines that define civilization, and our founders were wise to assert that. They asserted that government itself derives its just power from the lives of the governed, that human lives have intrinsic, inherent value of inestimable worth, that's an inalienable right to life. It comes from somebody else, not the government. It's in you because your Creator has given you that quality of life, and no one should deny it to you without due process of law, unless you've been on trial and done something bad. So the founders were very clear about the importance of the right to life. As I said, we look at what happened in medicine in Nazi Germany and recognize that foundational premises were asserted that were false and that were in direct violation of what we have come to see in America as critically important for a just society. But those premises have crept into our medical ethics now. And if you really want to look at what's happened, is that medicine has changed. It isn't plumbers who do abortions. It isn't ballerinas that do abortion. If a plumber does an abortion, he'll be arrested. If a ballerina does an abortion, she'll be arrested. It's a particular profession that is doing this. It's what used to be called the honorable profession of medicine. There are doctors who have taken the Hippocratic Oath and dismissed it. Again, the Hippocratic Oath also reflected the value, Western civilization's value towards every human life. So the medical profession has now changed. And under abortion, they selectively will kill, even though they swore historically that they would never harm, that they would never kill, that that's really the motto of the historic medical profession, to do no harm. But it's gotten worse. And let's talk about some of the worst things. Recently, Canada has legalized physician-assisted suicide. Physician-assisted suicide is government-sponsored euthanasia. It is ostensibly voluntary euthanasia, but it's clearly euthanasia. It is killing. It's not allowing someone to die. It's killing them. But quickly what happened in Canada is that a new practice has arisen, and that is where physicians will be involved, and they'll prepare and line them up. People for physician-assisted suicide, make the appointment, and they'll kill them with medicine, and then they'll eviscerate them for their organs, because now they can be put to use. Now those organs are useful. I have to tell you about Dr. Joseph Mengele. You probably know his name. Joseph Mengele was a physician. He was actually considered to be a very brilliant man in his day, and he did end up, if you read his story, he ended up at the death camps. He did not agree with the death camps. They were work camps where people were worked to death, but we know that they killed the people involved. And he was opposed to that, but he came to a conclusion that if we could, maybe since these people were going to die anyways, maybe we could use their death to benefit humanity. And so he started the human experimentation. He used the very famous and headed the twins experiments in Nazi Germany. Those twins were going to die, but he would seek them out so he could experiment on them for the sake of science, for the sake of humanity. But medical ethics had lost its moorings there, and we see that now. But do we see it here? Do we see that, again, the chalk lines of the baseball field of what makes a good society, that foul line has been removed? And now things that were once considered very foul, things that were easily in the bleachers, things that were easily in the parking lot, now those things are being pursued so that they're intentionally killing emotionally vulnerable patients and removing their organs for the sake of science and for the sake of humanity. But they're dismissing humanity in the process. This is here. This is now. We're looking at the situation with abortion. And again, in and of itself, before 73, it was a crime in every state. Every state had laws that declared that child to be a human being. Justice Blackmun errantly declared that we don't know when life begins. But most importantly, in the Roe v. Wade decision, the child was completely dismissed, is given no rights under Roe v. Wade. And we know that that violates common sense. We know that violates the self-evident truth that this is a human baby. So we know that Roe will be overturned. But in the meantime, medical ethics has been attacked because it's gone beyond abortion. Now you already know this. They're eviscerating those babies. They are selling the organs. David DeLayden is speaking at the next National Right to Life Convention. You probably heard about his videos. The exposés of Planned Parenthood, they know what they're doing. They know full well these are human organs. These are unique human beings. They're valuable. They want to sell those organs. Where has medical ethics gone? Where will it go? It's getting worse. It is getting worse, and it can only get worse for the very simple reason that the foundational premise of society, the right to life of even the vulnerable, that's been removed. And remember, it's the vulnerable who need society to protect them. I'm relatively healthy. I lift weights. I actually can protect myself in a lot of circumstances. But the people who really need protection are those who can't protect themselves. That's the reason we have policemen. That's the reason we have laws. That's the reason historically that medicine helped those and cared for those who were in physical need. That's been lost. That is now lost in your society. So don't sleepwalk through this battle. This is going on all around us. If we have condemned what medicine did in Nazi Germany, and we do, and we should, how could it be that we're silent at what's happened to the medical profession here in our nation and in our state? We must speak up, but in so doing, don't let it be rage. Don't let it be battle with physical people. We don't battle against these individuals. We battle against the ideas they seek to put into place. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. This is a battle of ideas. So I want to urge you to saddle up in this battle, to be prepared to fight for the right to life in your community, where you are, to be ready to give an answer for those things you might be asked about. You'll be asked about assisted suicide. This is not a battle that's going to be on radio and television. It's a battle at your kitchen table. Your family's going to ask about this. Are you ready? Are you going to be able to protect those that can't protect themselves? When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that are happening here in the U.S. in medical ethics, very scary things, and things that are happening in your community that you can stand and make a difference through by standing for the right to life.
Life Matters continues after this. Are the average members of your church ready to face the seductive allure offered by compassion in dying? If you ask them, we think you'll find that they are not. Many well-meaning Christians are easily swayed by the emotional arguments put forth by euthanasia advocates. We have resources to help you meet this challenge. Call us and ask for our group education packet, which contains the powerful documentary Death as a Salesman, starring Joni Eareckson and Brian Johnston. Call California Pro-Life at 800-924-2490 or visit us online at californiaprolife.org. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on life, on culture, and the battle of ideas that you're in. You're in this battle. So if you're not fighting, if you're not recognizing the weapons being used against you in your mind and the decisions you come to, then you're in trouble. So we want to equip you in that. We were talking earlier about the issue of abortion and how that's gone from simply killing these children to actually eviscerating them and selling their body parts. Human experimentation being done on these children. How is that any different from what Dr. Mengele did? Dr. Mengele supposedly didn't like the death camps, but was going to use the deaths to benefit humanity. We condemn him. He was hunted down. The use of medicine to kill is the bright line that's been crossed. It's a bright line. If you don't recognize that, then the other vague things that come along are very seductive. You're going to find arguments like Dr. Mengele's or like Planned Parenthood's. Well, we want to benefit other people through this. No, if you don't recognize that the foul line was crossed, and again, in a baseball game, those lines are critical. The life of the game is dependent on what is right and what is foul, what is fair and what is foul. There are many things happening now that are being called right and just and true, but they've gone beyond that line of the right to life. They use human beings and they kill human beings, and yet they're smiled on by your society. How do these things happen? They happen subtly, and if you don't see them, they'll happen in your community. Let me give you an example. The assisted suicide debate has gained ground in many states, and I've watched the process. The most common process, and what I recognize as the tipping point, is when the State Medical Association decides that they're neutral on assisted suicide. Now, think about that for a moment. If the NAACP said they were neutral on slavery. Now, they're not advocating for slavery. No. They won't advocate for slavery. But, they're not going to really oppose it directly. They're neutral on it because some of their members kind of are inclined towards it. Would the NAACP have any ethical merit for its own reason for existence? See, the medical profession, historically, going back to before the time of Christ, to the Hippocratic Oath, doctors swore they would never harm. They would give no deadly medicine, even if asked. This isn't a new issue. It goes back 3,000 years. If doctors are free to kill, they become the most terrifying members of society. Sociologists say that before the Hippocratic Oath, the doctor was the most terrifying member. You didn't know if he was there to heal you or to kill you. He was called the witch doctor. With the introduction of the Hippocratic Oath, we know when someone's taken that oath, they'll always be there to care for and cure. If they can't cure, to comfort, but never kill. Now that doctors are free to kill, then medical ethics has lost its mooring. So if in your state, as it has in California, the California Medical Association decided to go neutral. I mean, think about that. What if the Police Officers Association decided on a very important issue like, shooting informants, pistol whipping bystanders, and other forms of police abuse? And the Police Officers Association said, look, we don't favor that. We're the Police Officers Association, after all. We don't favor that. But, apparently some of our members have done it. And so, we're going to go neutral. We're neutral on pistol whipping bystanders. We're neutral on shooting informants. Well, they violate the principle of being a policeman. They violate the very principle of why we should respect them. If your medical association has done what the Medical Association of California has done, declared their neutrality, they have declared they no longer are ethical doctors. You need to recognize that. Again, going back to abortion, and now with euthanasia, by the way, it's only doctors who are doing this. They've become selective killers. These are hunter-killer doctors. You can pay a doctor to kill. If you'd like to have a baby aborted, hey, which one? Sure, you can find a doctor that will kill babies. Other people, plumbers aren't licensed to do that. Carpenters can't kill babies. They'll go to prison. Doctors are licensed to kill selectively. You don't even need a reason, by the way. That's what's meant by choice. Choice means you can kill that baby for any reason or no reason in particular, just for choice. If you don't understand the words and language that are happening in this battle of ideas, you're going to get sucked into silence. You're going to get sucked into quitting in this battle. And we can't afford to have you quit. You can't afford to quit. On the issue of assisted suicide and euthanasia, the same is true. Doctors will kill. They'll kill on request. But if you look at how it's actually done and what is actually going on, it still is the doctor who decides. Because if someone's depressed, many doctors will do what all doctors and every one of us should do. If I'm sick and depressed and I say to you, hey, I just want to kill myself. I just can't bring myself to do it. Would you help me? The first thing you should do is ask more questions, because that's a cry for help. It's universally recognized that the desire for suicide is an emotional cry for help. Not help with the trigger, help with the deeper emotions as to why I'm feeling this and what are better answers. But now doctors can decide whether they take that course. Well, I'll counsel this person, or I'll help them, or maybe if they have any pain, I can give them medication to deal with the pain. No, they can decide, yeah, you know what? I'll kill you. I'll give you poison. But it's gone beyond that as well, because what's happened in many nursing homes and many other places where there's vulnerable patients, doctors take it on themselves, just as the medical ethics of Germany, that certain people really aren't worthy. They're not worth keeping around. It isn't worth society's keeping these old people around. And they talk and use language that sounds very seductive. It sounds good. They talk about futility. You don't want to offer futile care. It's just futile to keep caring for this person. But really what they're talking about is not the care, because usually we're talking about basic comfort care. We're not talking about extraordinary care. That's always been ethical, to remove extraordinary care. What is unethical is to remove ordinary food and water, which every one of us need. That is, in fact, not futile. It's very effective. It's what keeps me alive. It's what keeps you alive. If you take it away from a vulnerable patient by calling this futile, you're calling that human being futile. This is happening right now in your society. It's happening in nursing homes right now. It's happening in the medical ethics that are being practiced right now in your society. Are you going to be silent? Are you going to shrug it off? But that's what's happening, because the clear line of the right to life, that foul line of society that determines what's fair and what's foul, that was removed. That was removed in 1973. And so the cultural confusion is sweeping through our society, and now something that many people many people should and can recognize, but they decide not to. What they see as foul is simply, well, I guess if somebody says it's okay, I'll go along with it. And that's why you must engage in this battle for life, for culture, and be real about it for this very real battle of ideas. We want to equip you to do that through National Right to Life. If you can't get to the National Right to Life Convention, make sure that you plug in online or nrlc.org, and you can find out more about this battle. It's happening in every state and in every community. As I said, ultimately, because of the way our culture has drifted, it's a battle that will take place at your kitchen table. Obviously, if you have a family member who's being encouraged by our culture in California, the state is paying to basically coerce young mothers to kill their babies. Hopefully you'll talk to that family member and you'll let them know there's other options, there's other things that can be done, and that they will regret that life being killed by that physician. That's something you can get involved in, but you need to know this battle has gone much further now. And you need to be prepared to fight in this battle. So we want to encourage you, go to nrlc.org. Be ready to speak up for what's right and true. Be ready to engage in this battle. Things are going to get worse. Yes, they're harvesting organs from babies. They're doing things that we condemn Dr. Wengela for doing. They're harvesting organs from people who, in fact, were suicidal and then intentionally killed simply to get their organs. You know, some people have said, wait a second, what if the person decides just before, I don't know if I want to kill myself? Now they have a duty, though, because there's people waiting for those organs. Now the pressure of society on them has redoubled. So the madness that took place when we declared there is no foul line, there is no right to life, society doesn't have to protect the vulnerable. When that was declared by the U.S. Supreme Court, it changed everything. We're hoping to see Roe versus Wade overturned, but that means you're going to have to battle. That means you're going to have to understand what was lost so you can restore that. That means you're going to have to stand and speak for those who can't speak for themselves. We invite you to do that. Again, go to the National Right to Life Committee, nrlc.org. Get the tapes of the convention. There's so many issues that are discussed there. But also, if you're in California, go to the California Pro-Life Council. That's californiaprolife.org. It's all spelled out. No hyphens. Get equipped in your community to stand for the right to life. It's the most important battle for our society.
Learn more about everything in today's show online at lifematters.life, where you'll find out a lot more about life, culture, and the battle of ideas. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life.